Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and yesterday I didn't post. I had a busy day and I had a birthday party to attend, but Q did post yesterday and has posted a couple today, so we're going to go over those. I've had a rough day and the night is wearing on, so I thought I'd better attack this now. My cats have been an absolute nightmare today for some reason, and let me tell you, I know that the earth is not flat because if it were, cats would have knocked everything off the edge by now. So let's go on with Q, and let me find it here. Okay, so March 17th, of course this was yesterday, seeing as today is March 18th, it's 9:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. March 17th, Q said, "How bad is the corruption?" And he said FBI past/present. And he said number one, so I think this was number one past, number one present, number two. So that would be James Comey, Robert Mueller, John McCabe, and now he's saying that these are corrupt. That's exactly what he's saying, and we know that, right? And then he says plus 29, and then in brackets 16. I'm unsure exactly what he's saying here. Either there's 29 indicted, 16 left to indict, or 29 indicted, 16 arrested, or I'm not sure exactly. That's a little bit vague for my liking, so time will tell. I mean, it will become clear as Q continues to post, as it always does. So then he goes on, DOJ, past, present, which of course is a Department of Justice. Number one, past, number one, present, number two, and that's Eric Holder, Jessica Lynch, and Rod Rosenstein, or Rosenstein. I'm not exactly sure which is which. And he said plus 18, and I would assume that's plus, there's 18 more. Plus 18 more to indict, plus 18 more that's been indicted, plus 18 more that they know about. I don't know. I wish I did. I could wager a guess, but it would just be a guess. So I'm not exactly sure, but I'm welcome to any of your suggestions, as always, down in the comments below, what you think it might be. And then he goes into state, past / present. Number one, Hillary Clinton, that's past, of course. Number one, John Kerry, and then the plus 41. And again, I'm not sure if that's plus there's 41 more that are corrupt, or plus 41 more that we've indicted. I don't know. I'm really not sure. So I'm going to go on because, continuing to, just postulate doesn't help any of us. So removal is the least of their problems. And we know that. We know that it's not just their removal that they have to worry about. It's actually being tried by a military tribunal, charged, any number of things. Going to prison. That would be something to worry about. I think that would be much worse than losing my pension, especially in the case of McCabe, or Mueller rather. McCabe, sorry. Has $11 million and 2 mansions. So, I think, that's probably losing his pension is probably the least of his worries. If he got off and that's all that happened to him, I think he'd be doing very well. I could live on 11 million. Absolutely, I could. I could live on, I don't need 2 houses. I could live in a tiny house and be happy. Anyway, that's the least of his problems. Projection. Now, I think what he's saying here, in psychology, projection is taking something you're guilty of yourself and projecting it onto someone else. Men often do that. Well, women too, but men often, when they are cheating, they will accuse their wives of cheating. Why? Because that's what's in their heart, so they assume that's what's in their wife's heart. And I've seen that time and time again. I was married once, and that happened in my marriage. So it's very, very common. And women do it as well. They think that, maybe because that's in their heart, that their husband is cheating or doing whatever. That's just one small example. But it happens all the time. You're jealous of someone, so you project it onto them that they're jealous of you. So that's what Q is talking about here, projection. He's saying, the whole Russian thing with the Democrats and Hillary Rodham Clinton was projecting. They were accusing Trump of doing the very things that they were doing themselves. And I've seen that time and time again. I know a certain ministry that I will not mention, but I'm very familiar with their inside workings. And I notice that whenever they are called out on something that they themselves are guilty of, they start preaching against it. And it's always, and we used to joke, some friends that were also familiar with the inside workings, we used to joke that, just listen to what they're, preaching on, and that's what they're doing. So anyway, that's exactly what Q is talking about here, projection. The Democrats and Hillary Rodham Clinton were doing the very things that they accused Trump of doing. So then Q goes on and says Twitter bots and Google, they're operated not by Russians or Russia, but it was a narrative and political slant. Of course, we know that there are no, I'm not saying there are no Russian bots. I'm sure there are, but we know, for example, in Twitter, when we all, released the memo and different things like that, and they said, it's the Russian bots, we're being attacked by Russian bots. We know they weren't Russian bots, they were us. So, yeah. And then Q goes on and says Biden / China. And Biden really sold out America, and I'm going to take you to a link in a second. But he goes on and says, big development, traders everywhere, America for sale. Oh yeah, America has been for sale to the highest bidder. So let's take a look at this link here. And interesting article. Secret empires, Joe Biden's son's firm struck billion-dollar deal with the Chinese government 10 days after Biden trip to China. Well, what have we here? The private equity firm of former Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, inked a billion-dollar deal with a subsidiary of the Chinese government's Bank of China just 10 days after the father and son flew to China in 2013. Nothing suspicious about that, is there? No. The Biden bombshell is one of many revealed in a new investigative book, Secret Empires: How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Families and Friends, by Government Accountability Institute President and Breitbart News Senior Editor-at-Large Peter Schweizer. Schweitzer's last book, Clinton Cash, sparked an FBI investigation into the Clinton Foundation. According to an executive New York Post excerpt from the book, the Biden billion-dollar China deal occurred as follows. Hunter Biden was the principal of Rosemount Seneca Bohai. In December of 2013, Vice President Biden and his son Hunter flew aboard Air Force Two to China. 10 days after the trip, a subsidiary of the Bank of China named Bohai Capital signed an exclusive deal with Hunter Biden's firm to form a billion-dollar joint investment fund called Bohai Harvest RST. The deal was later increased to $1.5 billion. Just $1.5 billion. Oh, that's hardly a lot of money, is it? Joe Biden has yet to comment on how the firm of a sitting vice president's son was permitted to bag a billion-dollar deal with the communist Chinese government, nor whether they had any knowledge or involvement in the deal. I'm sure he had nothing to do with it. Joe Biden, I'm sure he knew nothing about it. I bet you his son hid that from him. That $1.5 billion deal, I bet you that was just swept right under the rug and he knew nothing about it. Secret Empires is slated to hit bookstores nationwide on Tuesday, March 20th. You can be sure I'll be buying that. Editor's note, this article has been updated to reflect that only Hunter Biden was a managing partner of Rosemont Seneca Partners. In addition, Hines was not involved with Rosemont Seneca Bohai, which managed the Chinese funds. But you can bet that Joe Biden had a lot to do with that. So there you go. Always thinking of our best interests, isn't he? That Joe Biden, what a guy. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go back to Q now that I'm really angry. Okay. The next post is this one, March 17th still, from yesterday. And he said next week, and that is, next week is starting in, 2 hours? 2 hours and 1 minute, according to my clock. Eastern Standard Time. So next week, boom, 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 Q. Now, where's the fourth boom? Maybe McCabe was the first boom? And we've got 3 more to go next week? Woohoo! I don't know. But then, he says up here, same day, March 17th, Saturday, yesterday, he says, USMC activated. Now, that to me would be the United States Marine Corps. I can't think of what else that would be unless there's something that's obvious that I'm missing here. But it would make sense to me. United States Marine Corps activated. Well, why are they activated? What's about to happen? Must be something, or he wouldn't tell us about it. Why would we need to know? So, must be something related, I would say. And then he says US, and then he says 3. Well, there's 3 booms here, and there's 3 in brackets. I don't know. Is it related? I mean, that's just, to me, making correlations here that seem maybe obvious, but sometimes what is obvious is not. So I'm, not claiming to be the Q whisperer or anything, but that would make sense to me. So, let's go on. Now, March 18th, Q says, he posts, but he refers to his own, let me see, hang on here. Okay, hang on, just 1 second. I just got confused there for a second, but he posts here, March 17th, he puts next week, boom, 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 Q. Then up here, he reposts his own post, and he refers to it and says, excuse me, USMC activated, US 3. So, since this is he's directly correlating these 2 posts, then it becomes even more obvious to me that perhaps this 3 has to do with these 3 booms. So we'll go on now. And we're on to the next day, which is today. And Q said, panic mode. Enjoy the show. Q. Now, I can assume that those that need to be the most concerned really are, because I don't think anybody was really expecting McCabe to go. I don't. So, I don't know. I bet you they're panicking. I really do. It's like, I remember reading, when Helter Skelter happened, and the Manson crew broke in and murdered Sharon Tate, I guess it was, and her unborn baby and others in the home. They said that night everyone was flushing their drugs down the toilet. Now, I guess because I don't know why, really, but it was like everybody was on alert and they were just flushing their drugs and everything down the toilets. It's a little odd to me, but I would think that something similar is going. I'm not saying they're flushing their drugs down the toilet, but I'm saying that they're probably all panicked, like, oh my gosh, I'm next. So maybe they were flushing their drugs down the toilet because they knew that, the police would be inquiring of so many people. I don't know. But true fact, it was in the news. Now, the last post says March 18th, 2018, 2:17 p.m. This was his last post, and I did check before I made this video to see if there were any others, and there weren't. But if there are, I will most certainly bring them to you. And he said, why are trips allowed? Whitelist. Q. To me, this can have two meanings and only two meanings. But again, I'm not the Q whisperer. I'm not always right. But he could be talking about trip codes. Why are trip codes allowed? Because they're on the whitelist? I don't know. I think that there are certain trip codes in HN that are allowed and certain ones that aren't. It could be that he's talking about that. It could be that he's talking about, we know that some people are not allowed to fly because of being on a certain list, a no-fly list. And perhaps he's saying, why are trips allowed for certain people? Because they're on the white list. And trips are not allowed for other people because they're not. At this point, because they're getting ready to make arrests. I don't know. These are guesses on my part. Slightly educated guesses, but still guesses. So any comments that you guys want to make below, please, you're always welcome to make comments. I don't always agree with them, but that doesn't matter. I think it enriches us all by seeing everyone's point of view. I really do. And I will never, I'll never censor someone's point of view unless there's a lot of profanity or unless it's disrespectful to someone else in the comments or myself. I mean really disrespectful. I don't mind people joking around and whatever, but yeah. So I really enjoy the comments for the most part. Sometimes I don't get to all of them. When it gets up into the 600, 700 comments, like it gets a little overwhelming. So, but I do try to read them. So anyway, that's it for tonight. And I do want to tell you that please make sure if you want to be subscribed that you're still subscribed, because it's an ongoing game we're playing with YouTube. People keep signing up and then YouTube keeps knocking them off because they don't want it to appear that certain channels are popular because they contain information that they deem conspiracy. So, and apparently they are going to be adding to channels that are conspiratorial in nature. They're going to start adding WikiLeaks things to them so that you're getting a balanced point of view. I mean, it's ridiculous, and I think that we're adults and we should be able to look at what we want to look at. I mean, it isn't pornography. It's just an alternate point of view. So, I really am getting tired of the nanny state holding my hands and telling me what it is acceptable for me to view and what isn't. I'm really tired of it. I hope you are too. And hopefully we can overcome this. I really hope so. Otherwise, there's no chance. There's no chance for America. But anyway, let's stay positive. Let's stay focused. And thank you guys. I appreciate you all. I really, really do. And have a wonderful night. I am going to try and post another video tonight on about something I found. So if you're up, you'll see that as well. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Stay safe.